welcome to the living room in Denver, Colorado on this icky autumn day. It did snow the last 2 days. It did stop earlier this morning. However, it is really cold outside. It's like 25 degrees, I think, is what it was earlier. And now that it's snowed, it's liable to snow just at any given time. You guys, send spring early in 2024. I would appreciate you for that. But let's just start with this one. This is the Stanhopea. What is this? The Nina Rock crossed with Stanhopea incornuta right here. Again, I purchased these at the Denver Orchid Society Fall Show in September of 2023. It was my first orchid show. I just happened to cross it at Nick's Garden Center when I went in there. I did join the Orchid Society that day. Was so excited to go to my first meeting in October. Got the dates wrong and I missed it. So I'm shooting for my first one in November. So let's see how that works out for the old lady. Anyway, when I got her, and I'll link the video where I unbagged these fellas and kind of showed them to you. But this one was a member's orchid that was on sale. It was for $15. There were two of them. I chose this one because there were two new growths growing. And then a couple of weeks later, I repotted because it kept wiggling in the pot every time I would go to water it. And I thought, well, it's not getting any sustenance. I think I messed up when I did that because the two new growths that she had, well, here they are. They're no more. So now I have a basket I can just use something else in. Pretty sure I'll find something to put in there. And then my Violacea, I'm going to call it 4.0. It's not the same Violacea I had the first 3 times, but it had Violacea in the name. Is still doing fantabulous, still in the original pot that I purchased it in. It appears, as far as I can tell, to be an all moss. I did add the bark to keep the algae from building up, but so far she's not doing anything that I can visibly see. But what she's not doing is declining, so good sign there. I've been keeping her. I started her off on the top shelf with nice bright light, and I've gradually increased her light to where now she is sitting under a Barina grow light. And then my Spicerianum, Paphiopedilum spicerianum. Let me just take this tag out so you can see the full name without any stickers in the way. But look at that bloom. I love the center, the throat area, because it looks like a face. That's what it reminds me of. Looks like a little clown face in there. But for those of you who missed Saturday strolling, look what this bud is starting to do. And apparently I purchased it with the bud coming and just hadn't noticed it because I thought that this was, let's see if we can, that right there, I thought that was just another new leaf growth. And the growth that she has coming behind her here is coming nice and strongly as well. So we should be seeing that beautiful bud, I'm going to say in the next week, because it is really progressing rather quickly. You know what, I'll put the tag back on later. I know what that is. And then I have this one. This is known as a snake plant because of its patterning on its leaves, but it's the Ansedalus dicarnia crossed back to self. You guys know I like to chop up these names and make them my own, so don't judge me. Please don't judge me. But you're judging me and it's okay. Anyway, so this was, I believe, its latest growth. And I thought that I saw another growth coming, but I think I just imagined it. Shh. But I did add some more bark up to the top because from what I understand, their roots like to go into things and not be out of the media. But she sits kind of under a grow light. There's not a direct on there. She kind of gets the residual from kind of grow lights all around her. Doing fine. Hasn't shown much of anything. I've been watering it about once a week, and now that it is going into its non-growing season, as we know, autumn and winter is not really a big time for growth on orchids, even if you grow in a controlled environment. Contrary to popular belief, I think it's just in their genetics to slow down. Yes, all of my orchids continue to grow, but they don't grow with the same vigor, at least from my perspective. Let me know if I'm wrong. Then we have little Miss Elsie Candy Sparks Red Candy Stripe crossed with SLC Mem Trudy Marsh Sunblast. Now, if that's not a mouthful, I don't know what is. And I'll find the pictures because I did get this one with a bud. It did bloom out. Beautiful peachy orange blooms, gorgeous, gorgeous. But what she does have now is, let's see, she came with this new growth that you see right here. I can kind of get the glare off of there, but this growth right here that's coming up nicely. And this is the one that bloomed, and I do have it kind of tucked back because she was kind of sticking out. And I thought that that growth, let me see if I can move some of this bark. Let me just move some of the bark out of the way so I can show you guys. But initially, I thought that that growth was a root, so I secured that growth to the stake to keep it from wobbling. So not only does she have beautiful roots down there, but she's got that lovely new growth coming. So that is a great sign. And looking at it, I believe, ladies and gentlemen, we have us a second growth. I didn't see that one yesterday. Look at that. Awesome, awesome. Now, she does have new growths. She has those new roots coming. So I will be repotting her simply because I forgot one. Let me go grab her real quick. I'll be right back. As I was saying before I rudely interrupted us, this one here, the Cattleya Leopoldii Dark one, crossed with Elsie Sagreek Wax Red Beauty, which also was in bloom when I purchased her. When I went to repot her, because she was having new roots coming as well as this lovely new growth, had the moss plug in the center. So both of these are also from Sunset Valley Orchid. So my assumption is that both of them have the moss plug. Right now, in my mind, I always remember that they have the moss plug, so I'm careful when I'm watering and, okay, well, they look dry. Let me wait another couple of days so that the moss in the center possibly can dry. I know I'm going to forget that. You guys know how forgetful I am. I mean, I forgot to grab this plant. Prime example, look at there. So I'm going to go ahead and repot this one because it does have those lovely roots coming on it. So that, just because I'm afraid the plug is in there. But since I do have this beaut in my hand, let's just look at her. This right here, it was a new growth coming, but I think it just aborted itself because initially I was going to just take these seedling pieces off. But then I saw that new growth. I said, well, wait a minute, two directions of growth. But I think it's kind of stalled itself. Possibly another one will pop up in the spring. We'll just wait and see. And we do have this beautiful new growth coming right here, but it also looks like there's a little bit of a swelling. Can you see it? Right here on this older cane. So we may actually get another growth coming off of there. And it does look like I'll need to fill in with some more bark now that those roots have come down. And this way they can attach in because there's this big gap right here that needs some filling in. So there's that one. And then since we're on the Cattleya train, let's just take this Cattleya here. This is LC Angel Eyes SVO awarded, crossed with Potinera, which is now a Cattleya, Dennis Rossinger Christmas Candy. There's that one. And she too has some stuffy going on. Look at the beautiful roots she's starting to develop. She has a lovely new growth right here. And I don't see, let me just double check since I missed those other ones. I don't see any at the moment. But I thought after we talk about this lovely lady, we'll repot this one first because I feel like this is the one, if I'm going to repot, we'll need it first because she is kind of growing on the edge of the pot. Whereas this one here could technically stay in this setup for another year or two, but I'm concerned about that moss plug. So let's set her to the side for one moment. Move my pot out the way there. And we're going to talk about this lovely here. So this is a maxillaria with that name. and it's the variety Karen. Look at the blooms. She did come with one bloom left when I purchased her. Main reason I purchased her though was for the spotty leaves. Look at those leaves. I just love that splotching. Just love it. And she did come with these two new growths right here, this one, and then she's got a gorgeous new growth coming down right there. She is in a, I can't remember who it was. I believe it was either Anita or Sherry, or maybe Patricia, one of you, called this a burlap basket. So that is now what I'm calling this. So she's in a burlap basket on a mount. And I'm hoping that with the amount of moss I have in here, that as she grows up on the mount, because that was the idea, is as she grows up, I can just add moss to the back to keep her nicely hydrated. So far, she is doing well on here. I've been able to keep up with the watering. I've only been watering probably every 3 days. Every 3 days this dries out. And kind of how I determine that is I'll press right here, and if I hear crunchy down here at the bottom, then I know it's time to run water, and I just run it through the top here. As you can see, there's a little gappy gap there, and I can always fill that in with some more moss if need be. Now I do already have my bowl, and this will go into my cup that I call my orchid plant tag graveyard. All right. So we're just going to see what is inside. Depending on what is in this one will determine whether I also repot this one later on today. Now I didn't water her or anything, and I'm not going to do much of a cleanup, nothing like that. I do have my fiskars for obvious things that need to be cut. Let's just be very diligent of where those new roots are. So let me just get some of the media out of the way. And I see it. Yep, we have the moss plug. All right, let me get that out first. Probably should have wet her, but I didn't think it through. This is kind of a last minute decision that I made to do this at this time. Yeah, so this one has the plug. I'm pretty sure the other one does. So let me just get this wet, because to me, moss is a lot easier to loosen and get out of the media if it's wet. And then I'll go ahead and repot her. We'll look at also my Silogeny, because I also got that at the Orchid Show. Didn't purchase that one though. That one was a gift for joining the Orchid Society. For that particular day, if you joined the Orchid Society, they had some orchids out that you could choose, and they were free. So I got me a Silogeny. So we'll go look at her, and then, wait a minute. This is actually, we might just finish this first. Look at me all over the place as usual. If you're new here, this is kind of me. I am a little shiny object. Ooh, what is that? So I do apologize if that's annoying to you. I will try better in the future. No, that is too hard. So, all right, let's go look at the Silogeny, and then depending on how that goes, I might come back with this. Let's Here she is. This is the Silogeny that I purchased. As you can see, her growth, I hope you can see with kind of poor lighting right now, but she's still doing rather well. All her leaves that she came with are still there, and she is still working on those 4 new growths. So she's doing lovely. And that is what she looks like from below when you're looking up. Look at all. You can see she has a lot of light around her. When we look at her from the top, she doesn't look like she's in enough light, but right there, oh, she's in light. So I did go ahead and take her and soak her, and I got the moss out. And believe it or not, there wasn't that much. Let me just lay her down right here real quick. This is all the moss that was in there, and I did cut off a few roots, but there weren't that many roots that needed to be cut off. And the great thing is, it is a branching root system, so if I did decide I wanted to cut more of the roots off, I could. And one of the main reasons I'm waiting for new roots on this one is because she is a bifoliate. And for those of you who grow Cattleya know bifoliates like to dump their leaves, their roots. So you need those new ones to get behind it. I think, now that I've said it, I think I am going to just cut the longer roots off of the bottom, just so I can get her into this pot without too much damage, because I'm pretty sure if I press too hard, it will damage them. I know this looks really brutal, but like I said, it's a branching root system. And sometimes when you cut the roots, it encourages them to branch. And at the end of the day, she has this new root system coming behind, and it's already started off pretty decently. So I'm just going to set her right here. Let me get my stake kind of where I want it, about right there. Let's see if I can find a hole or something to stick it in. Well, we'll just have to stick her right there for now. And I am setting her back a little bit, not a lot. I'm gonna allow room for a new growth just in case she decides to sprout something from the back. But she does have a fairly definite direction of growth, if you will, and it is coming this way. So I am going to move her back a little bit, but not all the way to the back. And what I am putting her in is large, medium, small Orchiata bark, some medium fir bark. I'm going to take some of these that are like this. I'm going to take those out because they're kind of hard to get into a smaller pot. And I do have a couple of moss pieces in here, and that's just because I am reusing a mix, or finishing off a mix. I'm not reusing it, finishing off using a mix I'd already mixed up for something else and just added to. So there will be some moss in here as well. Being extra diligent of those roots. There we go. Now she did not have, so my mic just decided to disconnect. I have no idea what I was going to tell you as far as she does or she doesn't have. Don't know what happened there. But you know what? Let's just fill her up and call it a day. But when you are repotting a Cattleya who has 2 leaves, or what is known as a bifoliate, you definitely, I cannot stress this enough, want to wait for new roots. I know there are people who have no issues whatsoever. They repot whenever they see new growth, or when they're like, oh, this needs a repot, and they have no issues. I personally have had just about every one of the Cattleyas that are bifoliate that I repotted without waiting for new roots. I set them back years, guys. I've got some from 2019, and this is, of course, before I realized, you know, wait for those roots, because I pretty much was treating them like I do my Phalaenopsis. With Phalaenopsis, especially your hybrids that you buy in the grocery stores, those are so forgiving. Like, you can repot them as soon as you get them home. I don't care what anybody says. You can repot them as soon as you get home. Now, yeah, you want to wait, but if you want to repot them, you can. You do not have to wait. However, with the bifoliate Cattleya, please wait for new roots. Don't do like I do and a lot of others, and set yourself up for a long-term wait for them to recover, because they will pout for years and they will refuse to do anything for you. So just wait for those new roots. Then pot them in whatever you like to pot them in, whether it's organic or inorganic media, and set yourself up for success from the beginning. And another great thing about Cattleyas is they don't mind a lot of air around their roots. So I don't have to be uber diligent on making sure that the media is snug underneath. Now, obviously, she's got some media underneath her, but I'm not worried about making sure there's a lot, if that makes any sense at all, because it kind of all fell in there as I was putting it in. Let me just fill that in as well. Oh, and you know what? While I have this out, I may as well go ahead and add that bark to the other one that had the little hole in it. Now I am also trying to keep in mind that these roots on the top here in the front were not quite in the media yet. So I'm keeping them above the media as well. And I am keeping some perlite, which does hold a little more moisture than the bark, to help encourage them to go down. So there she is. And these are the two roots I was talking about, that I'm leaving those above the media. Since I have this out, it's not the same type of media that she's got. I mean, it is the Orchiata, but this has the fir bark mixed in it with a little bit of moss. And if a little bit of moss gets in here, it's not the end of the world, because she does have a small layer of moss up underneath her, because I was wanting to encourage those new roots that were coming to go down and not go aerial, which I'm pretty impressed with my average humidity this past growing season. Last year, the average was between 30 and 35. This year, my average was 40 to 45. And I've said it in past videos, but I really attribute that to the window replacement, because it is holding the temperatures a little better, but I'm not having the drafts. You would think with the drafts my humidity would have been higher before I fixed them, but no. But this is what I was talking about. I just filled her in the back where she had those little holes. And let me know what you think about the progress of these orchids since I've had them. I'm going to say almost 2 months, like 7 weeks. Bought them in the middle of September. It is now the end of October, so about 6 weeks, month and a half. I think they're all doing fairly well, except, of course, the Stanhopea. And if I come across one, I'll buy it, but I'm not going to go like online and order one, anything like that. I feel like with that one, I really need to look at it so I can assess it and really pay a little more attention than I did this last time. Hope you guys are having a beautiful day. I will see you on the next one.